Hello, Mike Butcher, TechCrunch, and I'm here with Jenny Fielding, who's the Managing Director of Techstars. Techstars is vertical programs in FinTech and IoT. Jenny, you've been at Techstars for the last couple of years, based out in New York, but we know each other from London.
We do.
When you were running a lot of the innovation that was coming out of the BBC. What was that like, switching from the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, to an accelerator like Techstars?
Yeah, so at the BBC, lots of layers of people and lots of papers to write and lots of processes. And it was awesome. It was great training for me. Yeah. And at Techstars, no rules. So
make it up as you go along.
Make it up as you go. I mean, we have a saying at Techstars: proceed until apprehended. So managing directors create their own programs and really run the programs as they want to run them, and it's pretty fun.
Ask for forgiveness, not permission,
pretty
kind
much.
of thing. Techstars really has grown incredibly globally over the last few years, and it's very interesting for me as an observer to see how Techstars has gone into these very definable verticals like FinTech and IoT. First of all, why did it make that decision to do that? And secondly, was that the right decision?
So, I mean, we're running 24 programs globally at this point, and the majority of them now are corporate programs. So, a number of years ago, the corporates started coming to us as corporates were starting to, figure out that they needed to look at earlier stage companies. They couldn't build everything within. It was super expensive to do that. And so they started coming with us, and we started experimenting with partnering with them. We've run now programs with every large corporation, it seems, and we're just expanding. We think the model really works. The corporates obviously get a lot out of it, and it's an incredible enabler for our portfolios, right? To come through a program and also get some type of commercial partnership, products and services that are just available to them, from the corporate partners.
It is interesting, isn't it, how Techstars has gone down this route. There are many corporates who try and run their own innovation programs, do their own corporate venturing, but it does seem that the Techstars model has sort of spoken quite well to corporate venturing without corporates having to actually, bring in all that DNA that they really just never seem to quite manage to get. You know what I mean?
It's outsourced innovation to a certain extent. Yeah. But from my experience at the BBC, I started BBC Labs. But the truth is, if they didn't have me there weren't a lot of other people at the BBC that would have been willing to, be as grassroots as we were starting labs. And so, this is a way for companies to, get their feet into innovation in a different way than they may be already approaching it within.
So one of your charges is FinTech, and very appropriately in New York, the FinTech scene is, white hot right now. It's white hot in London for obvious reasons, being such a huge financial centre. Where do you see that going at the moment? Is Wall Street doubling down on FinTech? Is that really rocking and rolling right now, or what's the sort of character of things change? How is it changing over the last couple of years?
I think London has been so ahead of the game in FinTech, and the truth is there were lots of FinTech investors and lots of FinTech startups in New York, but there wasn't really such a catalyzed scene. And I'd say in the last year and a half, we've really seen it come together. Now we have a partnership with Barclays, and so we have our FinTech accelerator. There's Startup Bootcamp has a FinTech, and so there's a bunch of programs that are actually popping up, and I think it's great for the ecosystem. We're really seeing people rallying around FinTech, so we're excited about it. And I think we're developing an ecosystem that can pretty much rival London. We have the ecosystem, we have the investors, now we have the startups, and we're starting to get the corporates involved as well, whether it's Barclays or MasterCard or others. So we're pretty excited about New York as being an epicenter of FinTech now. In terms of Wall Street getting involved, not sure. I mean, they do come through our office, and they're a little bit of tourist investors, and so I don't know if we'll see more or less, but there's some interest, but we don't really pay attention to that so much.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, how people operate between cities like London and New York. And the other thing that you have under your under your charge is IoT, Internet of Things, as a vertical inside Techstars. Certainly from my perspective, as covering that area, there's we've been sort of waiting for, really interesting IoT companies to appear, but all of a sudden they're sort of coming in a rush right now, I think. Is that your feeling?
I think we're seeing more and more IoT. So Techstars actually has a pretty large portfolio. We have somewhere between 50 and 60 IoT companies within our whole portfolio. So we're definitely excited about the vertical and doubling down on it ourselves. I think you've seen traditionally a lot of hardware and IoT on the West Coast, and now you're starting to see it spread. So we were I think we were the first program in New York really to focus on it, and now you're seeing other, smart cities, focus on Industry 4.0, so there's more happening around IoT. So we think it's super exciting. I think, there's still a lot of things to sort out within platforms, right? The interoperability amongst the platforms is a big inhibitor, as well as security. But I think, as those things start to come together, we'll see more and more entrepreneurs, taking a chance on IoT.
And finally, Techstars has been around for the last few years now, really, as an accelerator. And yesterday we were having a discussion about the studio model. That's kind of a new take on that whole thing. Do you think Techstars is able to compete in this more competitive world now?
We are increasing our accelerators around the world. So we run 24, and we might double that in the next few years. So I think I think we're competing quite well, and we're excited about entrepreneurship spreading. We're the ones who started the Global Accelerator Network, which was really to provide resources to other accelerators. So we believe that the more that's out there, the better it is for everyone. So we're excited that the studio model's popping up and all these other ones.
A rising tide lifts all boats, as they say.
That's what they say.
Marvelous. Well, Jenny Fielding from Techstars, thank you so much for joining us here at TechCrunch New York. Thanks
Thanks again.
And see you later.
Thanks, Mike.